Okay, so after the overview, the third part of the proposal is its body. So the body of the proposal is composed of at least like three different sections. So the first of which would be the rationale and background to the proposed idea. The second part is what we call the justification, which essentially covers the hypothesis that you have formulated and the basis for that hypothesis. And then the third part, which is also which I consider to be like one of the most important parts of the proposal, is the proposed research work. So within this section, you're gonna have to define some general considerations for the proposed work, scope and limitation. What you're intending to do, say over a span of a year or two of working on this project. And then the third part would be research methods. You have a vision. What would be the path? How will you actually get there? Okay, so the first part of the body of a proposal is the rationale or the background for the proposed projects. And in most proposals that I have written and that I have read and reviewed myself, typically experts dedicate like a page for this, so you can have like about at least 3 paragraphs. And so typically the first paragraph, or they begin the rationale and the background for the study by speaking more broadly about like the proposed idea, because like in the overview earlier, you only had like 2 sentences for this. So you can dedicate a paragraph that answers the questions, what the proposed research is about. Are there literature or prior reports or studies that can help define your problem or describe the problem? And then you typically end this paragraph with answers to the question, why are you proposing this idea and what is its relevance? Are you doing something to benefit the world? You have to be able to speak to those importance, in this section. So this is going to be your platform. You're establishing the need for your project. You're not just doing this because you're curious. You're doing, or you're proposing a certain research idea because there is a need. It is of high importance. Okay, so the second part of the rationale or the background is the literature information. So dito na po papasok yung review of literature, and our second training course for Philsci Hub Research University very well focuses on how to effectively review the literature. So I suggest that you actually check that out. That was delivered by Janice Averilla, who's a scientist based in Kansas, here in the US. So what type of information what are the types of information that you should take from the literature and include as part of the rationale? So based on experience, typically people provide insights into the progress within the area of research. So what has been done quite recently that's considered state of the art, and ano ba yung best results recently, can help justify your interest in the area of study. And then in certain cases, like it's fairly easy to find recent developments that you can use as motivation for an idea. But if you end up working or proposing an idea that has never been explored before, this is also the section where you highlight the novelty of what you're doing. So you just say, okay, this has never been done before, but by conjecture and by comparing this idea with what's been established in other fairly related but non-overlapping studies, this is how we are framing the hypothesis. So you can really use the review of literature to highlight the importance based on related studies, or you can also cite literature to highlight the novelty, why what you're doing is really new and it's never been explored or done before. So again, this will very well reflect the quality of your review of literature. Okay, and then the last part of the rationale or the background is the hypothesis or the objective. So this is the part where you talk about your hypothesis. So essentially, your hypothesis is going to be the basis of your research objectives. And so if you notice, I have actually organized these elements to the rationale and background using an inverted triangle. So this is to show that the thought process that is practiced into writing up a rationale is via deductive reasoning. So you start with a very broad question, and then you are refining, or you're actually coming up with a more focused set of research questions all the way down to the hypothesis using your research of the literature. So ito po yung tinatawag typically ng mga tao sa atin na conceptual framework. So saan ba nanggaling yung inyong hypothesis? Saan ba nanggaling yung inyong research question? So this is actually the part. So the rationale and the background provides that explanation, of your interest to a particular topic, and what specific questions and hypotheses you're trying to verify. Again, an example based on the nanoparticle idea. So again, you begin with restating the proposed work. So you say, the synthesis of cheap and size uniform gold nanoparticles is proposed, and ultimately the goal of it is to address challenges in the development of economic and efficient anti-cancer drugs. So that's one sentence you can further expound on. So like we said, typically we dedicate a paragraph for the first part of the rationale, and then secondly, the second part is related literature. So you start citing statements or findings from different studies that says, several studies indicate that size uniform transition metals are more effective anti-cancer drugs. So that's findings from other research that helps you justify your interest in size uniform gold nanoparticles. And then you can also include pieces of literature that justifies why you think you can make those nanoparticles cheap. So you can say recent advances in nanoparticle synthesis methodology suggest that cheaper precursors and milder conditions can be employed, and this is very critical for reducing the cost. So again, you on purpose you are citing studies or statements and reports that help communicate your research questions. And then lastly, your hypothesis, you have to state it here. So size uniform gold nanoparticles can be more effective anti-cancer drugs. And then the second statement could be, the use of cheap organic templates and milder conditions can significantly reduce the cost of gold nanoparticles. And then these hypotheses are again the basis of your research objectives, what you really are intending to do, what you intend to work on in the laboratory, what you intend to acquire data as proofs for. So yun po. So these are just examples. Again, 3 paragraphs is typically enough for the rationale. Obviously, I have only shown a couple of sentences just to give you an idea of the types of information or the types of messages that we have to send across whenever we're writing up a rationale or a background for the proposed research project.